I want to use this opportunity to discuss some key insights from my books. So far, I've published 2 books focused on talent succession management. The first one was published in 2020, and the title is Talent Management Agenda in a Post-COVID-19 World, a practical talent and succession management guide for professionals, executives, and business leaders. And then the second one was published in 2022, and it was like the second edition of the first book. And the focus of the book is managing careers and career transitions with specific references to work, workforce, and workplace. And again, I want to start by saying that within the talent management context, there's been various discussions around is everyone in the organization a talent? When you look at this question in the context of talent management and in the context of the core essence of the organization, I try to provide certain insights and some views with respect to this question. And it will be good for you to get a hold of this book. It's a 7-chapter book. The first chapter specifically talked about talent acquisition, talent segmentation, talent development, talent refreshment, and also I try to focus on discussing talent succession strategy. How do you come up with your talent management strategy? What are the key things that you need to look out for when you're trying to come up with your talent strategy? Again, in defining your talent philosophies, what are the key things that you need to take into consideration, including the stakeholders that are involved within the organization? I looked at the viewpoint of driving accountability, because it's not just enough to put in place talent succession process. There must be certain things that will help you to actually drive accountability within the organization. Then moving to chapter 2 focused largely on managing the talent succession process, looking at attracting effectively, placing your talent, core talent succession phases, and specifically and very, very key to the talent succession process is this issue of identifying critical roles. Understanding roles criticality is very crucial to talent succession process. How do you define the criteria? How do you look at certain things within the organizational context, particularly the strategy of the organization, in defining the critical roles that are essential for the success of the organization? Again, chapter 2 also discussed something around the assessment of retention priority. There's something called retention priority and retention risk. You want to know more about this, get the copy of the book. And also, assessing readiness levels of successors is very, very important to talent management process. I try to provide a whole lot of clarity in terms of what you can do in terms of getting your talent ready and also preparing them for various transitional roles. Chapter 3 actually discusses things around understanding your high potentials, identifying your high potentials, and also managing performance and talent engagement. Performance is very important to any talent management process. There is no point identifying an individual who is a poor performer as your key talent. If a talent is not delivering on the result, in the first instance, you should take care of the issue of performance before we now begin to look at it from the including this individual in the talent pool. How do you drive engagement? And I also discussed something very, very important in chapter 3 of the first book, which was talking about how do you embed psychometric instruments using psychological tools to identify and assess your talent. Again, it is very important to state that the outcomes of the psychometric assessments have been very useful in talent identification and development, particularly in career coaching and feedback. How do you drive engagement? How do you challenge your high potentials? How do you bring about certain developmental interventions that will help you to actually develop your talent? And those are the things that chapter 3 was focused on. In chapter 4, I actually looked at talent review process and data calibration. Talent review is very important. It's one of the core ingredients that enable organizations to succeed in their talent management process. So what is talent review? How do you drive your talent review meeting? How do you understand your talent succession map? Then looking at data calibration. Talent audit was also discussed in chapter 4. And I looked at it from the point of understanding various risks, identifying the successors and incumbents in roles, and being able to take what we call a talent audit to see whether your talent succession process is actually viable. That is, it can take you into the future. Or do you have enough or robust bench strength that can enable your organization to actually achieve its business objectives? Chapter 5 actually looked at linking development to organizational goals. How do you understand your business drivers? How do you identify your business drivers? How do you use interventions to actually enable your talent to actually deliver the expected goals? How do you actually deploy the interventions, and also measuring the feedback of all your interventions? There was something very important that I discussed there, which was looking at pandemic-driven talent management process. We don't want a situation where you have not been able to put in place the right succession process and you now find the organization struggling at some point because of succession of vacancy risk. If you want to know more about this, get the book and look at chapter 6. And the final chapter, which is chapter 7, was focused on managing succession and talent placement in family and owner-manager businesses. This is very, very important, and I decided to close that chapter with specific scenario in terms of what have I experienced even in the course of my career. What are some of these challenges that we have seen in some owner-manager businesses vis-a-vis talent succession process? There was one very important discussion which came up when I was having a chat with one of the business owners, and we're talking about the key ingredients when we're talking about putting people in very critical roles in an organization. And the discussion around loyalty came up. Trust, loyalty. Should trust and loyalty of individuals be considered as part of the talent selection criteria? If you want to know more about this, please get a copy of the book. The second book, which was published in 2022, was actually talking about managing careers and career transitions, workforce, and workplace. I decided to look at talent management from various angles based on what we have experienced with COVID-19 and some of the things that we now know. How do you manage careers? How do you manage transitions? How do you enable people? How do you enable the talent within the organization to actually be able to deliver on the organizational expectations? This particular book is a 5-chapter book, and it cuts across different areas. The first chapter was talking about talent management is not a fluke. What do you need to do? How prepared should you be? What are some of the trends and implications of the trends that we've been seeing, considering the reconsideration of workforce and workplace? Some things have changed. We are seeing the concept of the plurality of careers. People are having multiplicity of skills, and people are taking advantage of some of the things that technology has to offer us. So when you look at it, you will see some of the insights that I've decided to share based on what we now know within the context of COVID-19 and how we manage talent. The second chapter was focused on careers and career transition, patterns of work that have emerged because of COVID-19, you know, the fear factor, some of the uncertainties and organizational support that people are looking forward to in order to be able to deliver on the core objective of the organizational expectations. Then the top chapter was talking about creating flow in a post-COVID-19 world, and also the third chapter was looking at the emergence of uncommon leaders. COVID-19 has actually triggered certain things within the context of work. There are leaders that have emerged which wouldn't have emerged if not for COVID-19. Organizations gave chances to some leaders because at some point they were not given the opportunity to actually bring experts from different parts of the world. So people had to use what was available locally, and this also enabled some local talent to develop. You want to know more? Please get a copy of the book. And I close the chapter by just reviewing generally in context. And I want to say that it's a huge opportunity to be part of this journey. And it's also a learning point. I want to admonish you, get a copy of this book. You can get it. 2 copies. It's available on Amazon, it's available on Barnes and Noble, and it's also available on Author House Bookstore. And if by any chance you are based in Nigeria, you want to order your copies and you want us to deliver to your location, please try and reach out to us. And I'm also giving out some auto discounts because I just want it to go around. So if you are interested, if you are ordering the 2 books, you will be entitled to some sort of discounts from the author. Please get across and we'll be ready to deliver to your doorsteps. And you can also order online on Amazon, on Barnes and Noble, and also on Author House Bookstore. And I would like to hear your comments. I would like to hear from you. I need your feedback based on what you have learned or you have read from these books. Thank you very much.